Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title, we're back with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. And all I have to say is, Darklords will never ever die. That's it. Darklords can't, it's impossible. We've tried. You'd have to ban out everything. You'd have to make the deck literally gone. Okay? Here's why. With the new box, there came new support for Darklords, kind of, in the form of Charge of the Light Brigade. Why does this card work in Darklords, and why are we running it? Right? We can't use compensation. So what are we going to do instead to mill cards? Well, we're going to use this. Charge of the Light Brigade, what it does is you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard to add a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. Well, we're only running 2 Lightsworns. We're running 1 tuner Raiden Hand of the Lightsworn, as well as Lila Lightsworn Sorceress, right? Now, with these, this one is just a pop back row, since now you can't run something like Cosmic Cyclone, because you gotta fit in these other tech cards. So instead you're running this to pop the back row that way. And then you have Raiden Hand of the Lightsworn, which is a level 4 tuner, which allows you to go into any of these synchros, right? So, why is this card any good? It also mills. This card also mills. We want to mill cards. We want to get them into the graveyard, right? Pretty good there, right? And then you have Charge of the Light Brigade as well. Now, talking about the Darklords. With the new ban list that has come out, it has limited our precious... where is she? Ixchel. It is going to be limited to 2, which, along with Contact, basically says you can't use it. You either can't use this, or you can't use Contact. And let's be honest, we're getting rid of Ixchel instead of Contact. Contact is kind of a key point of Darklords, right? Draw 2's nice, but if you can't get anything from the graveyard, what's the point, right? So, we said goodbye, Ixchel. Goodbye, Darklords. We will see you soon. Hopefully. And we were right. So, even though the ban list says no Ixchel, can't play Ixchel, we're going to say, okay, we won't. We're instead going to add 3 Amdusk and play triple Amdusk and focus more on milling a bunch of our own cards using Charge of the Light Brigade and the Lightsworn cards, right? Now, on top of that, we're also running double Nastin and double Tez. This is personal preference. Basically, the core of the deck is this, right? Obviously, you'd want the 3rd Charge of the Light Brigade, but even that's kind of I didn't find it to be extremely useful to have Charge of the Light Brigade. Yes, it was useful, but not extremely, right? All of the rest of these cards, including the extra deck, is kind of tech, right? You could add in another Raiden if you wanted to go into more synchros. You could add in, you know, more Ukobak. You could add in what have you, right? If you like Double Desire, you could run Double Desire instead. All depends on you, right? So, we have Desire, we have Morning Star, we have Double Nastin, we have Double Tez, and then Triple Amdusk along with 1 Ukobak. Now, the Triple Amdusk is actually very important. Since we are milling more cards, we are going to need to draw them up a little bit easier, right? So the way to do that is to send with Amdusk to grab up again, right? Pretty self-explanatory. Now, the skill has changed. Obviously, we can't use compensation, but we can use something else that is instead more of a disruptor than a play continuer, right? I always prefer play continuers rather than play disruptors, just because it does promote kind of combo-based and faster-paced games, right? Compensation wasn't necessarily that. It wasn't like a combo starter or anything like that. But things like Spell Specialist, Trap Layer, and My Monster cards, as well as things like Bring It and some of the other things that are getting buffed, are more combo starters. So the ban list, I'm not exactly happy about. The skill change, I'm not happy about, because it kind of prevents or de-incentivizes more combos and more like good starting hands and stuff like that. And it's less about who has the better plays and more about who has the better hands. Anyway, with this, we're running No Mortal Can Resist. Why? It's because if your life points are 1,000 less than your opponent, at least 1,000 less than your opponent's, which is pretty easy with Darklords, all opponents' monsters in the opponent's graveyard change to Skull Servants. Once you activate this, and it can only be used once per turn, however, it can be used as many times in a duel as you want. They have one monster in the graveyard, get rid of it. They put a second one in there, get rid of it, right? Boom, boom, boom. There are a lot of decks that want to run graveyard, what have you, right? I mean, Lightsworns, Blue Eyes. I mean, we just got Glow Up Bulb, which if you can get rid of a Glow Up Bulb, that's pretty freaking sick. I mean, Shiranui as well. Get rid of that. Boom. Ya done. Right? A Shiranui mills half their deck due to Lightsworns, right? And then you just go, I see that deck, or I see that graveyard, not a fan of it. I'm gonna just say no, right? You can even activate it after your desire, right? Send one of their boss monsters to the graveyard, right? Now their field is empty, or it's a weaker field, right? And then you immediately afterwards hit them with that No Mortal Can Resist, and all of a sudden they are down to nothing. What do? What can they do? They can't do anything, right? So that's why we're running No Mortal Can Resist. Again, you could run something else, right? I've also thought of maybe Spell Specialist. It is getting nerfed. We don't know how it's going to be affected, but opening up with a Contact, a Charge of the Light Brigade, or a Banishment of the Darklords would be insanely good. The only problem is that you have to have 5 different spell cards, which you can't really fit within this deck, so that's kind of an issue. But yeah, there you go. That's the deck. You can run any of these synchros. Main one that you're going to be focusing on is Star Eater and Deskbot Jet, because those are the easiest to get out with your Nastin and Amdusk respectively, along with the only tuner Raiden, right? Star Eater, you swing in unaffected by card effects, can't be negated, or the synchro summon can't be negated, so it's guaranteed to get out. And then once you swing in, it's a 3200 beater that can't be affected. And then Despot Jet is just a pop. You synchro summon it, and then you pop a card, and then you go into more plays, right? There you go. There you have it. Let's hop into some replays. Alright guys, hopping into the first replay, we are up against a Yummy Yugi, which scares me immensely, because Spell Specialist, Grass That's Greener, with freaking Lightsworns is even worse now. So, yeah, let's just hop into this. We open up a terrible hand, but we do happen to mill. This is also a terrible mill. We can either choose Contact, right, which we kind of have to, or we could choose one of our boss monsters that we kind of need to win. Well, we're obviously going to grab up the Contact. We then Contact into the Amdusk. Then we're going to activate Raiden. Raiden is going to mill 2. Then we are going to grab up the Banishment to grab up the Sanctified Darklord. We're going to actually set the Sanctified Darklord. Here's the thing. Currently on the ladder, not a lot of people are running Cosmic Cyclone because there's just not room in their decks or what have you, right? You're not seeing a lot of people playing up against something like Dark Magicians and a lot of those other things, so you're not seeing Cosmic Cyclone nearly as much as you previously were. And so right now, it's dangerous still to set the Sanctified Darklord, right? However, I did see Spell Specialist, which means that I'm most likely not going to see a Cosmic Cyclone, because they're either playing it at 1 or they're not playing it, right? So setting it, I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. And then he activates Grass the Screener. He goes down, cleared to 8 cards, and mills an insanely great... This is an insane mill, right? Of course, with the ban list, you won't be going up against Grass the Screener, but this is a pre-ban list, so people are obviously using the non-ban listed cards quite yet. So what he's doing here is he goes for the Lumina, discards a card. We're going to negate the effect and say, no, you can't do that. Then he goes into the Blue Eye Solid Dragon by, how does he get this? Oh. I don't even know how he special summoned this. Oh, with the Eyes of Blue, he returns that to the deck and sends the Lumina Lightsworn Summoner to the graveyard to summon up the Blue Eye Solid Dragon. He should have just gone for regular Blue Eyes, but he didn't. Don't know why he didn't do that. He then swings in, takes out our Raiden, then summons up the Blue Eyes White Dragon with his White Stone of Ancients. Then we summon up the Dusk. We currently can't use the our skill No Mortal Can Resist because we are technically only 100 below the opponent and we need to be 1,000 below in life points. So he's going to grab up his Sage with Eyes of Blue, summon the Vermilion Dragon Mech, then he is going to summon up his Glow Up Bloom by milling a card, then summons up Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This was a mistake from him, because now he doesn't have a way to get over the Dusk reliably, right? He can't just swing in and be like, okay, I'm just gonna pound my face into you until you concede, kind of thing. We have the Tez in the hand, so his effect basically does nothing. We're gonna grab up a Contact. Why are we gonna grab up a Contact? Because we can. Why not? Right? And it allows us to go into the Tez. We're gonna activate No Mortal Can Resist. His entire graveyard is now all Skull Servants. He can't do anything, right? We actually drew into Banishment, so we're going to Banishment, search up the Nastin, then we're going to activate the Banishment in the graveyard to grab up the Sanctified, and at that point he realizes his mistake. There were quite a few things that we could have done. We could have set the or special summon the Nastin in, or onto the field, and then had the Sanctified in the graveyard. We could have also just set the Sanctified, and just kind of sat on it, and contacted the Tez. We could have done, I mean, there were a myriad of things that we could have done. So, there you go. That's how it's done. Let's hop into the next replay. Alright, if you thought that last game was interesting, this one's even more interesting. We're facing off against a Mokuba Kaiba, right? I don't know what skill Mokuba Kaiba is going to use, but we do open up a pretty good hand. Double Nastin, Contact, and Banishment is pretty good. We're going to send Nastin and the Sanctified in order to summon up Nastin. Then we're going to search for an Amdusk. Amdusk is then going to send the Contact to grab the Contact to summon up the Amdusk, and then we have a Contact and a Sanctified in the graveyard, and he banishes his 2 Psyframes. Psyframe, interesting. Psyframe Alpha, basically what this card does is if it's in your hand, when your opponent special summons a monster while you have no monsters on the field, what you can do is you can special summon this card and a Psyframe Driver from the graveyard or the deck onto the field, and then if you have the field spell card, you can also synchro summon on your opponent's turn, right? Really good. Anytime you can activate anything during the opponent's turn, it's pretty good. So that's what this is all about. Psyframe Circuit is their field spell. We're going to activate our Contact to bring up the Nastin again, and then here's the thing. Both of us misplay a lot in this replay. So first and foremost, I am going to swing in with my Nastin. He is going to flip down the second Nastin with his Paleozoic Canadia, right? So now I'm assuming that this next card right here is a what is it? Floodgate, right? So I flip up. He activates Floodgate, Trap Hole, activates the Paleozoic Canadia. I get flip face down. Now, had I just given the knowledge that I had I instead just switch the Amdusk to attack position and switch the Nastin kept the Nastin and swung in with that. That would have been a better option because he doesn't have the Paleozoic Canadia, right? So it's just, okay, we're just going to swing in. Whatever this back row card is kind of what he has to depend on. He activates a Raigeki break, so it actually didn't matter. Either way, we were going to have to face off against that Canadia, and we weren't going to win there, right? However, it would have prevented the Nastin from getting flipped face down permanently, which does become quite a hassle. So he activates his Sage with Eyes of Blue. We're going to let this go through just because there's no real need to actually do anything there. And then I realize, whoops, that was a mistake. I should have prevented it because now he has the Psy-Frame Gear Alpha in his hand, which allows him to Synchro Summon a level 7 on our turn, right? So what does he go for? He goes for the Black Rose Dragon, trying to wipe the field. We're going to prevent that. We're going to say, no, 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 none of that. There we go. Boom. Negated. We're going to set our card into defense position. We don't want any of that. He activates Sage with Eyes of Blue, once again grabbing up his third Psy-Frame Gear Alpha. Summons up the Scrap Dragon, pops the field spell and our Amdusk, and then summons, or sets another, plays another Psy-Frame Circuit. We're just going to, while he swings into the Nastin, we're going to summon up the Amdusk once again. Now we grab our Hand of Light Raiden. Raiden is then going to send the Sanctified Darklord to the graveyard, which we are going to use to negate the effect of Scrap Dragon. Then we are going to, just to get health, then we are going to summon up Despot Jet, which basically the only thing that you're looking at is you could target a Despot card, which is this card, right? You control and one face-up card on the field, destroy them. Boom, we destroyed the Scrap Dragon. Pretty interesting. Now we go for Lila. He activates his Psy-Frame Gear Alpha once again, grabs up his third Psy-Frame Circuit, Synchro summons into his Samurai Destroyer. We're going to pop the back row card, which happened to be a Drowning Mirror Force. Definitely don't want to deal with that. We're going to mill some cards. I actually misplay again. Instead of searching for our third Amdusk, which would have given me the ability to contact and summon up another Amdusk, which would have been a much better option than what I currently have with the Morning Star. I search up the Morning Star so I could tribute over and try and go for the Samurai Destroyer to swing in and destroy it. Doesn't matter. That's what we ended up with. He activates his Psychic Feel Zone. I forget what this card is called, but basically you target two remove from play monsters, a Psychic type tuner and a Psychic type non-tuner, which is basically you're searching for your Frame Gear Alpha and your Driver, right? Then what you're going to do is you're going to return them to the graveyard in order to special summon a level 7 monster, right? So he summons up his Zeta. Then he makes a huge mistake and swings into the Nastin. That is 2600 defense. I think he forgot that it was 2600 defense. So he swings in. We are now flipped face up, which means we can activate our effect. So Nastin is going to grab up the Amdusk. Amdusk is going to search for the Sanctified. Then we're going to do another search for another contact, and then here I make another mistake. I tribute off our Amdusk rather than our Nastin, because I forget that Nastin is currently permanently in defense position. Pretty sad, unimportant. Anyway, so now I special summon up our Ukobek just to get a body onto the field, and then I set 3, and then I swing in, and he activates his Psy-Frame Gear Ellipsion, which boosts up the Zeta up to 4000 attack, doesn't touch its defense, so we can still swing over. He realizes his mistake, he realizes he can't do anything, and he disconnects. So, there's that one. Hope that you guys did enjoy that one. Let's hop into the next one. Alright guys, so hopping into this last replay, we are going second up against a balanced Sartorius Kumar, playing some Gladiator Beasts. Now, Gladiator Beasts, he's going to unexpected die into a Test Tiger with the Andal. Andal is going to be sent back to the deck with the Test Test Tiger. Test Tiger is going to summon up the Sagittari. Sagittari is then going to send a War Chariot to draw to another Test Tiger. Test Tiger start Sagittari to summon up the Equeste. I don't friggin' know how to say it. Which is then going to grab up the War Chariot that was in the graveyard. And then he normal summons the Daria. So he's got a War Chariot, we know that, so we're going to bait that out using our Nastin. We're going to send the Tez and our extra banishment that we had to the graveyard. We did happen to draw up a contact, so we're going to contact the Tez. Tez is then going to contact Nastin. Then we're going to activate No Mortal Can Resist. Then we're going to summon up we're going to activate Banishment to grab up the Morningstar. Nastin is going to activate to grab up the Tez from the hand. Then we're going to activate Morningstar, summon up double Amdusk. Now, Amdusk, as with all of the cards, can be summoned twice at once. The thing is that you can only special summon Amdusk or Dusks or whatever, whichever one of these cards that you choose to summon once per turn, meaning that each turn you can only do that once. Now you can summon multiple of them at a time, right? But you can only summon them once per turn. So keep that in mind, right? That little S means that you can summon them multiple times a turn, right? Or multiple at a time, right? Then we're going to swing in, but he has the Vespius in the hand, which boosts up the Gladiator Beasts by 500. Well, not that big a deal. We can beat over it since it's a 2800 on the field. So we're going to swing over it and then swing over to the one that we had already attacked into, because had that not been destroyed, it would have been returned to the deck and then spat out another Gladiator Beast. So instead, what we're going to do, he draws it into a Test Tiger and then goes into a Vespius. Then we're going to activate Amdusk to search for a contact. Now we still do have the Sanctified Darklord to set. We're going to activate the Sanctified Darklord to tribute off the Amdusk to prevent any damage coming through, and then negate his effect. He surrenders after that, realizing he had nothing. Let's hop back into the deck and I'll explain a little bit more about it. Alright, so real quick, this deck is still pretty good. It is weakened compared to what it was previously. However, with that being said, a lot of other decks are also pretty weak at the moment compared to what we previously had, right? When Darklords were at the top, that was the strongest deck, and everything else in comparison was very weak. However, at the moment, a lot of other decks are strong and have a lot of options. Gladiator Beast, Blue Eyes, Lightsworn, all of these different decks, Cyber Dragons, Kristrons, Dark Magicians, Element Sabers, all of these decks are still really strong, and while Darklords are not the best deck currently in the format, they are still a top contender. There's still something to look out for, and it's because of these the Charge of Light Brigade and just being able to mill cards and search them and stuff like that. So overall, still a really good deck. I mean, Sanctified Darklord is insanely good in Duel Links, as well as, you know, having Banishment of the Darklords, being able to search. Desire is a great boss monster. Morningstar is a great boss monster. All of these other things contribute to making Darklords so good and just making them something that everyone, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people do want to play and want to see continue to succeed. So there you go. Overall, since the meta kind of got weaker and everything kind of got weaker, especially with the nerf to Sealed Tombs, Darklords did kind of rise in power a little bit. However, with the nerf to Ixchel and Compensation, it did hit the deck, so it kind of did even out since it got buffed with Sealed Tombs and Charge of the Light Brigade, but it got nerfed with Ixchel and the Compensation nerf. So there you go. It does work. I love it. Still love Darklords. Hopefully you guys did indeed Wow, I can't speak. Hopefully you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to see more content like this, as well as more meta-analysis, basically, from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.